I don't know if I like this camera angle. This is very, very different from the content you would normally see on my channel. I want to try something different because we're talking about Wish, and there's no correlation between those two facts. Let's get going. And of course, as you guys can see, I'm wearing my Mickey Mouse t-shirt from the 80s. We have 100 years of Disney and we have Wish. Now, before I get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I want to talk about the audience reception. And there's a point to all of this. And I was honestly shocked to read this. So before going into the movie, I only saw the trailer and I said, you know what, that looks pretty good. I want to see it. I'm a Disney fan and this actually looks like a good movie. I didn't read anything on Twitter, any reviews, nothing. So I go into the movie and, spoiler alert for the rest of the review, I actually really enjoyed it. So I did my little tweet, my little letterbox thing, and my little YouTube community post, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh my god, a good review! Yes, finally! Finally a good review! And two things came to my mind. One, I really don't see what's wrong with this movie. Now, again, it's not perfect, right? This movie isn't like the greatest movie of all time, and maybe some people were expecting it to be. But number two is that people were like almost hoping that someone would like the movie. Going, okay, now I feel justified in liking it. You don't need any justification to like any movie for whatever reason. So here's the deal. If people are gonna say, hey Brandon, you're only liking this movie to be different, or you're just a Disney fanboy, I just wanna go in with my honest opinion here. And that's the ultimate point of this channel, to cut through all the toxic fandom, all the gatekeeping, all the nonsense and the BS, the politics, whatever. I'm just gonna be talking about the movie here. So if that interests you, then keep watching. My name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and here's my review of Wish. The overall story is that we have this king. Magnifico is his name. A little on the nose there, but let it slide. And he is this sorcerer, and he basically creates this kingdom that anyone can go to, and they can grant their wishes to him. And he takes their wishes, and people forget about their wishes as soon as he takes them. And then every couple of months, every year, I forget in the movie if it's like every blue moon, every whatever, he grants a wish to a lucky patron. But because he holds all of these wishes, he can decide, you know what, that wish is not worth granting, but that one is. It's got to be, you know, just the right level of beneficial for him. If someone wants to learn how to sing and inspire, well, what are they going to inspire? Fear, anger, hate, betrayal? No. We need someone to create dresses for the kingdom. That is a better wish to grant. So our character, Asha, figures this out, and she cannot fathom this because her grandfather has had a wish and he's 100 years old and he will not have his wish granted, unfortunately. So she wishes upon a star, and the star comes down and realizes that this Magnifico guy is not so magnificent and he should have his power revoked from him. So Asha and her friends and her little goat, Valentino, and of course the wishing star are here to save the day. So that's the overall story. Now, I really enjoyed this movie, and the reason why is because it felt like it harkened back to what is at the heart of every great Disney movie, and that is hope. Dreams, where dreams come true, right? That is the whole reason why Disney exists today. When You Wish Upon a Star is basically their trademark, but that is at the heart of every single movie. Someone is wanting something more. Of course, that's Belle's whole storyline in Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. You go through the entire list, that is what Disney is all about. And I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that with Disney movies. At least that's how it feels to me anyways. I might just be getting older, more cynical, but when I was watching Wish, I felt like an 8-year-old kid again, watching a great Disney movie. Now, I did read some of the comments afterwards and how they just weren't too happy with the movie. They were not very happy that Asha is not the most interesting character. And unfortunately, I have to agree. She does not have much of a personality. She's, quirky, I like my wishes. What, is that kind of awkward? What, like that kind of bumbling, quirky kind of princess. And she's not really a princess. She's just a girl who lives in the town, but she wants to work for the king. The story is predictable. You know what though? Sure. But at least it has the basics down. Now, the one thing that some people did complain about, and I actually disagree with, is that this is the first time in a very long time where I feel like we actually had a distinct Disney villain. And they were intimidating and had a lust for power and were evil, and we actually just did not like them. And the most important thing that I think a villain can really do is that when you're watching them, you do not know how our heroes are going to succeed. You're thinking to yourself, you know what? I actually think that the villain could win here. And the path to success is so narrow. And that's what makes it more interesting. Nothing is more boring than watching a movie and you just know deep down in your heart that the hero can defeat the villain. So it's like, oh, Right, now I'm really invested. And guys, I'm just looking at like the little monitor on the side. It still throws me off. I'm trying something new. But Chris Pine as Magnifico, I thought he was really good. Now, again, I saw one thing before watching this movie and how, like, oh, Disney villain songs back in the day were like Be Prepared and Poor Unfortunate Souls and lots of other great Disney villain songs. And I agree. Like, nothing is going to beat Be Prepared. Nothing is going to beat Hellfire. Like, oh my goodness. But this is the thanks I get. In the context of the movie, I actually thought it wasn't bad. And that's probably sacrilegious for people to say. Again, I'm not going to defend every Disney song. Like that Aquafina song in Little Mermaid might be the worst song in movie history, right? It's terrible. So I'm just trying to, showcase to you guys that I'm not just a fanboy, right? Again, I shouldn't have to do that, but regardless, I thought in the context of the story, his villain song actually worked. It's upbeat and it's, lighthearted, sure, but again, you can have a lighthearted song in a really dark scene, and sometimes the juxtaposition actually makes the scene stronger. Like, again, I'm going to compare it to this movie. Kids, don't watch this movie yet. American Psycho, ask your parents. Great movie. But of course, when Patrick Bateman puts on Huey Lewis in the News, a very upbeat song, and he does something very, very evil, the juxtaposition actually makes the scene stronger. And during that scene, how he's talking about how he, is so great and magnificent, and he can't understand how people would even think these things. He's so delusional, right? People don't understand the things that I'm doing for them. It's really narcissistic. And of course, you do see him start to lust for more power, and he starts to get a bit more evil, and there's that dark side of the song. But overall, it's an upbeat song, and people were looking at that online and they're like, it's terrible. You know what? You might watch the movie and might still think so. But I gotta be honest, I still actually liked the song. So sure, okay, I'll agree that the main character is not the most interesting, but she's not hateable. She's serviceable and likable. The villain, I actually think, is pretty great. And I might be in the minority in that, but you know what? That's totally fine. The songs. Now, I saw this movie with a Disney enthusiast, and he was talking about how the person who wrote the songs is not generally a Broadway musical person. Like, they don't actually write for musicals like West Side Story or Wicked or, Hamilton, like musicals. They write pop songs. And the songs in this movie definitely feel very Disney parade-y, right? It's, I don't want to say stuffed with fluff, another Disney reference for you, but it does feel somewhat manufactured, I will say that. But I'll be honest, and here's a thing that definitely works when it comes to telling if you like a movie or not. The next day, when driving to work, when you're walking to school, or doing whatever, if you go onto Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and you put on the songs from the movie and you actually start to kind of sing along, you start to tap your feet, that's a good sign. And when, in line for Starbucks right before work, what am I listening to? I'm listening to the Wish soundtrack. I like these songs. I can't lie to you guys. So the songs are great. Villain is good. Story is enjoyable enough. Yes, it is predictable. But again, how out of the box do you want the story to be, right? Maybe you have some cliches in there, sure. But I didn't think that it was talking down to the audience. Now, and that's the big key. I've definitely seen movies with a plot that is either non-existent or very serviceable, kind of cliche, mediocre, but it talks down to the audience and it's basically telling you how important it is. And Wish didn't really do that for me. I felt like it was just a solid Disney film. Now, my one big complaint is that the goat in the movie, when he wasn't talking, he was funnier. But then, of course, when the star comes in, he becomes like the comic relief, like the, what's the raccoon's name in Pocahontas, because he doesn't talk. Nico, whatever his name is, right? He kind of has that level of comedy to him, right? More physical, more facial expressions, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, when the star comes in, the star basically takes that spot and the goat now talks. And the talking goat has I think his name's Valentino, right? I think I said that earlier. Has one or two funny lines, but that's kind of the thing. They really play up the, hey, I'm a talking goat with a low voice. Alan Tudyk can have a very low voice and people think it's Patrick Stewart, but it's not. I don't know. It really kind of fell flat. He was funnier when he didn't talk. That's my only real gripe with the movie. But what makes this movie special to me is that it feels like a giant curtain call for Disney. Disney's 100-year anniversary. You're not going to come out with just some generic action film or some generic comedy film, some family film. You want to create a fairy tale because that is what Disney is known for, and that's what Disney does best, fairy tales. And this movie did feel like one big 100-year anniversary. You know, Asha's got 7 friends, and they all have different personalities with different outfits. You have a really short, loud, obnoxious, angry one. One has allergies. One gave away his wish, and he doesn't have much of a drive in life anymore, so he's very tired. You see where I'm going with this. There's one scene, and really there's no spoilers here, right? These are just little references. You know, a bunch of characters are holding on to ropes and they jump off of a ledge and you hear a right? So that's a Tarzan reference. A lot of little tiny ones. You know, there's like a bear in the woods and that looks kind of like Lil Jon, kind of like Brother Bear, a little bit of both. You have some bunnies in the woods that look like Thumper from Bambi. You have a bunch of floating things in the sky that look like Tangled. All these little references. And if you're a big Disney fan, then you're really going to love those. But again, I've seen movies that are like, oh, do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know this? Do you know that? That was the entire Super Mario Brothers movie. And again, it's cool to see that at first, but the novelty really wears off. What makes this movie work for me is that it really got down to the roots of why Disney is as big and as successful as it is. And it's about hope. And the story is, you know, if you just give your wish to somebody, you know, you don't have it anymore and there's nothing to drive you forward. You know, people often complain on the internet about how Disney is so evil and all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. And it's this corporate nightmare, and sure, right? Like, I definitely agree with lots of those points. But at the heart of it, when you wish upon a star, that's what drives us as human beings, right? I can talk for, you know, for guys. We need that mountaintop. We need that mountaintop in our lives, something to strive towards. That could be raising a family. That could be a certain position at a certain career. That could be starting a YouTube channel. That could be, you know, getting in shape. That could be winning the championship of a certain sport. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but you need that goal, that drive. And sure, you might not achieve it, but along the way, you might find something else. Ooh, this is kind of interesting. Like for me, for instance, I was working in the film industry for 10 years, basically. And then everyone went on strike and lost my job. And I became a plant salesman. And now I'm doing better than I was working in the film industry. And I know nothing about plants. I do now. You know, don't fire me, boss. But without this wish, without any goal in life, any dream, you know, you might not achieve it. But at least it gives you a reason to wake up in the morning. And I know people right now in my own personal life who have nothing going for them because they have no goal in life. They're just kind of wandering around. You know, they're sitting at home playing video games, you know, watching things they should not be watching, you know, drinking things they should not be drinking, and just there's no purpose there. And that's what this movie really tells us, is that if you have a wish, it's something you can work towards, you know, step by step. If it's to learn a new language, if it's to learn guitar, and that's what gives us drive. We have to believe in ourselves because we can do anything we put our minds to. And yes, we might not succeed, we might not be the best, but at least we can get better at something. And we have the power to do that. And that's what this movie teaches us. So yes, is this movie worth a watch? It's weird. I really don't understand all of the negativity towards this movie. I really don't. So I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. And it's funny. It feels like over the last little bit, you know, with the Marvels and some other big blockbusters, I'm like, oh guys, like there's no passion for it anymore. And when this movie comes out, the majority of people are like, it's just some generic Disney movie. It's so disappointing. It's so bland. It's so stupid. You can have that opinion. Totally fine. I'm glad I'm not in that same boat, because when I saw this movie, I really enjoyed it. And the credits, man, the credit scene and the after credit scene is just perfect. An absolutely perfect ending to a movie. Absolutely. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on Wish. If you have seen the movie, then let me know what you thought down in the comment section down below. I'd really appreciate to hear your thoughts on the movie. I love to read every single comment. And if you like this video and you want to see more videos just like it, then definitely hit like and subscribe. And I also want to plug in my Patreon members. You guys are awesome. If you guys want to join Patreon, the link is down below. We have monthly movie nights. I give you guys movies every single month. It's a great time. Link is down below. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.